Welcome to the Blender Goon. In this video, we're going to get Blender installed and go over the user interface. So to get started, we're just going to jump on blender.org, and when we get here, we can go up to downloads and just download the current version, which is 4.3.2. Once you have Blender downloaded, it's going to pop up a splash screen, we call this, and there'll be some options here for you to choose. It doesn't matter what you choose really. We're going to go over it here in a little bit in the next video. But if you want to go ahead and use spacebar as search and maybe the black theme, which is what I'm using, that should do you. If you've previously had Blender, there should be a button that loads previous settings. You can go ahead and click that. Once you've opened Blender a second time, this screen will pop up and it'll be like the one you're seeing here. You can choose from different file types to open. So if you want to do sculpting, you can click sculpting or video editing. Generally, we just click over here. Over here are the recent files, so the recent stuff that you've been working on. You can do a recover last session. And of course, you can go to donate. I'm going to click off of here and we will go over the UI real quick. So to start with, we have our Blender icon up here, and if you click it, you can go back to the splash screen. That'll take you here again. It also has some other options like system. We have file where we can save our file and import and export things. We have edit where we can go to our preferences and choose what preferences we want Blender to have, like add-ons and such. We have our render for rendering video and animations and images. We have window where you can open up a new main window and change it over here to whatever you want it to be. We also have help where you can go to the Blender manual or some tutorials on the Blender Foundation page. These next tabs are our Workspace tabs, and layout is the first one. That's where we bring in our objects and we can do blockouts and things. The modeling tab will put you in edit mode and give you edit mode options. Sculpting tab is where we do some sculpting. UV editing is where we tell the textures to lay on the faces and get as much texture space as we can to make our textures look good. Texture paint, you can paint on models. Shading is where we add materials and textures to color our model. Of course, animation self-explanatory. And all this stuff up here is customizable. You can remove them. You can make new ones over here. You can rename them by double clicking on them. You can just do whatever you want to. If you mouse over this area and you use your scroll wheel, you can scroll back and forth. You can also hit middle mouse and just move it back and forth. So just know that there may be things hidden over here. I'm going to go back to layout. This next area is scenes. You can make custom scenes, like I have a space one. Space. This next tab is view layers. I probably won't be using this much. It's for more advanced hiding and showing rendering in different view layers through collections. Our next little button is this little button here, and it changes what the window it's attached to is showing. So we can click it and change it to like the image editor. So this whole window changes to image editor and the icon changes also. So if we click it again, we can go back to the 3D viewport, and each window has one. So this one is the outliner. This one is the properties. And like I said, the big one is this. And you can split areas. So if we right click right on the middle here, we can do a horizontal split. Then we can change this one to something else like compositor if we wanted to. And right click on that center again and maybe join the areas down to get rid of that window. This is also a window. The next tab is your mode selector. So if you select it, you can change to like edit mode or sculpt mode. Typically, I just use tab to switch back and forth between edit mode and object mode. But we'll use it later when we make clothing and things like that. The next button is the view button. You can go and see like the navigation hotkeys, and you can split your areas here also. I don't use the view much. Select, you can use to invert selection and change between like lasso, select, and extended and things, that's these buttons here. The next button is our add button. I typically use hotkeys for this add button every time. The hotkey for add is Shift A, and that will give you the hotkey for that. You might want to get a pencil and paper out and write these hotkeys down. Shift A is for the add, and for object and edit mode, it's just tab. We also have object, where we can apply our transforms. Control A is the hotkey for that, and I use it often. I never hit this object typically unless I'm trying to make instances real or something. But most of the time it's for apply all transforms. And like I said, that's Control A. The next drop down is our transform orientations. I don't use it much except for making custom orientations with the little plus sign, and I will show you this at a later date, but it's really nice for making objects move something other than X, Y, and Z directions. The next is our transform pivot point. This is nice for controlling how your objects move. So right now it's set to medium point, but if we set it to like 3D cursor and our object is not at the 3D cursor, when we scale, it'll scale towards the 3D cursor as opposed to just scaling normally. The next tool is our snapping tool, and it's automatically turned off. You can turn it on by hitting the little button here and turn it blue. You can also hold control and that activates it. So if you hit like G to move something and you hold control, now it's snapping to the grid because it's set with the drop down to increment. So it's not doing grid, it's doing increment. We typically change that to vertex is what I use it for most of the time. The next is proportional editing. O is the hotkey for that. Turns it on and off. And you can change your proportional editing to different things. And you'll see this more when we get into the edit mode stuff. One super nice thing about Blender, if you right click on something and you want to know more about it, you can go to the online manual and it pops me straight into the proportional editing, which is what I clicked on. And it'll tell you all the documentation that Blender has on it in their manual. The next button is your selectability and visibility. So we have a mesh object in here. So if I turn off selectability, now I can no longer select it. It just won't let me. And you can also turn off the visibility of it, and now you won't see it at all. And that's for all the mesh in the scene. The next one is your gizmos. You can turn your gizmos off. So there's your navigation gizmos and active tools and things. I really don't mess with this at all. The next one is your overlays. You can do things like turn the floor off, which I have off, and your face orientation, which I have on. I have some special stuff with that in the add-ons and setup we'll go through in a little bit. The next area is your viewport shading. This first button is X-ray mode, and Alt-Z is for X-ray mode, and I use it constantly. The first one is wireframe, and then you have solid view, material preview, and render mode. You can also access these with the hotkey of just Z or Z, and then you can just choose one. The next area is options. You can turn on like origins and then move your point of origin itself, but don't forget to turn it back off because it'll mess with you. This area over here is the selection tool. Right now it's set to box select. The hotkey for this is W, and you can cycle through tweak, which allows you to just left click and grab. If you hit W again, it'll go back to box select. It'll go to circle select, which just lets you paint selections, and then lasso select, which is, and I'll hit W again till I get back to box select. These here are different selection modes, and there's videos explaining on how to use this. I don't use it much, but it's very useful if you do it. So let's say you have multiple things in a scene, and you can go to this one. It'll extend your selection to multiple things. This one, if one's selected and you box select and one's not selected, it'll swap them. The next thing we have is our gizmo tool over here. So you can left click on this and move it around in the gray area, or you can click on one of the little dots and flip to a specific axis. The hotkeys for that is middle mouse to move around, and 1, 3, and 7 on the number pad, or Control 1, 3, and 7 on the number pad to go the opposite direction. So that'll flip you front view, or Control 1 will flip you to back view, that kind of thing. We also have our magnify, so you can hold that, just left click on it and drag in and out. You can also roll your mouse wheel to go in and out, and you can hit Control and hold middle mouse and move in and out. So those are the hotkeys for that. Pan is the hand. To pan, we hold Shift and middle mouse, and that will do the panning. Or left click here and pan around. Camera view is shortcut number pad 0, as it says there, and you can just click it. I don't have a camera, so it doesn't work. But if you have a camera and you click it, it'll send you into your camera view, or if you hit 0 on the number pad, it'll do the same thing. And this is perspective and orthographic view. It basically just changes your depth perception, either none or some. This main window here is called the 3D viewport, and things like context menus. So if I right click, I can bring up the context menu. This stuff is all Windows specific, and so are the hotkeys and things. So if I have my mouse over here and I hit O, it doesn't to turn proportional editing on. It doesn't do anything. But here it does. If you see it turning on up and off up there. If the mouse is up here, it doesn't work. If the mouse is over here, it doesn't work. So Windows specific. Make sure you're in the window you want to be in with your mouse. This one's called the 3D viewport. This one is called our collections. This one is called our properties. And we are almost done. Just a couple more things. So down at the bottom, this one is our timeline. This is in the layout tab. We also have T, which opens and closes our toolbar. So if I hit the cube, it'll give me arrow keys to move stuff around if I have this move selected. But I typically leave that on box select. I don't use the T menu hardly at all. We also have an in panel, which gives us our item and tools and our add-ons. So if you put an add-on in, it'll be here. Also see your transforms, the one I've said we apply. That's the in key. And at the bottom is our status bar. If you right click on it, we can do stuff like turn on scene statistics. Go ahead and do that now. And that'll give us all the information down here. Also, anytime you do anything, it lights up with a whole bunch of stuff at the bottom here. So if I hit G to grab, it gives me a whole list of options that I can do. I can hit X for the X axis. I can hit B to set snap base, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And every time you do anything in Blender, that bar changes and you can see what's going on down there. So definitely pay attention to that when you're getting started here. The last thing I want to show is a little more on the properties tabs. So the properties tabs are all these little guys here. And this is where your modifiers live, and your materials, your rendering. And we'll get all this stuff adjusted up soon. But this is the properties tab. This is the in tab. So that's it for the UI overview. If you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Don't forget to join the Patreon if you haven't. And I'll see you in the next one where we go over our preferences and add-ons, and then we'll get to building stuff.